Screen now, Polly?
Yep.
Good. Just check if I'm hitting the right button. Good. Okay, so welcome to those of you who joined us or just joining us. My name is Tony Young. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a consultant surgeon at Southend Hospital. I'm the Director of Medical Innovation and Chair of that at Anglia Ruskin University. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done 4 startups, the next to those, raising about 5 million of private sector funds, and I'm the National Clinical Lead for Innovation for the Health Service in England. So you're very welcome to this little webinar we're setting up today on looking at applications for the Clinical Entrepreneur Programme. I'm going to speed through a couple of slides just quickly to give you some headline overviews of what we're doing, what it's all about, and then get into some Q&A. We have just an hour to do this now. The applications are live at the moment, as many of you will know, on the website, so we'll just get started. So what's the programme about? So it's a partnership between NHS England and Health Education England, and it's really a workforce development programme. So it's about taking our most valuable asset, which is at the staff in the NHS, and equipping them with the skills, knowledge and experience from the commercial, startup, entrepreneurial world, try and help us transform healthcare. Not all the latest, greatest things are coming, through scientific discovery and necessarily out of our hospitals. Some of them are coming from businesses and startups and going straight to patients in so many ways, whether it's digital health platforms, artificial intelligence systems, other things that are going forward. So there are some great opportunities. And we were teaching, or we allowed, particularly for junior doctors, but actually for all healthcare staff, you could develop as an educator, you could develop as an academic or a researcher, you could develop as a leader. But we weren't allowing people before this program to develop their interest in being a commercial person or an entrepreneur within the health system. And now we realise that those skills can help us transform healthcare, so we're taking that forward. So the programme, this is year 3 we're going to be entering and you will be applying for. It's it covers all aspects of all the things you need to know about doing a startup, being an entrepreneur, just a whole cross range of, or cross sector really, range of information and knowledge that will be invaluable. All the things I learned myself when I was starting my companies up and wish someone had been able to introduce me to them. So we have 8 pit stop days. They're our educational days across the year. So you have an evening before where we have founders' stories, key lessons learned, and lots of networking. And then the following day we have a whole series of, some of them are keynotes, some of them are workshops, some of them are clinics where you bring your problems along. So we run an IP clinic and things like that. And lots of pitching practice. We get you to sort your ideas out. And the keynotes range from basic accounting, legal and regulatory around setting up a small business, around taking forward medical innovations and devices. Forgive me, I have the ring thing on my phone, so every time someone walks past my front door back in Southend, my ring thing goes off. Very handy if you've got children and you want to know their home, actually, I recommend it. That's not my kids at home, I should say now. That'll be the cleaner heading in, I suspect. Where were we? So educational pit stop days, whole load of things again. We get people, leaders from the system coming along. So it might be NHS Digital, NHS England, Public Health England, from our STPs or trusts moving forward, things like that. So, and then beyond that, we have a whole range of networking events as well. We run some hackathons through the year for people to get involved with. We can connect you to customers, connect you to funding. We don't give you any funding ourselves. And one of the things I should say, some people thought this was a paid fellowship. It's not. Some people thought it was a full-time fellowship. It's not. There are 8 days across the year we organise, and days we bring you in for into the system so you can gain those skills, knowledge, experience, but most importantly is network. Find your co-founders, find other people in the system, learn lessons from them on what they're doing. So on the next slide, it's turned out it's the first time no one had done it before. And so we've produced not just the world's first entrepreneurial training program at a national scale in healthcare, but it's turned out to be the world's largest. In year 1, we had 104. It was just junior doctors in year 1 and year 2. We opened it up wider. to healthcare scientists, dentists, as well as all doctors then, because we were still testing and trialing and developing the program. But in year 3, we've opened it up to all clinicians now. So nurses, allied health practitioners, pharmacists, clinical scientists, dentists, doctors. I left one group out, I'm not sure. Anyway, all clinicians in the NHS, I think I've covered them all, are now welcome to apply. So of the 104 junior doctors we had on year 1, we had over 50 startups on the program. They raised over £50 million in private sector funds, largely between them, impacted over 5.6 million patients and professionals. And we created a brain gain coming back into the NHS. 34 doctors either who were on the verge of leaving or had left came back to work in the NHS. So that was it's a really good story from that point of view. But the most important thing is we're equipping our workforce with skills, knowledge and experience to help them transform healthcare. We bring, what does it really do? I suppose it gives you an unfair advantage, I think is what I would like to say. And that's the edge you need in business, isn't it? It's access to knowledge, access to information. It's all out there, but it's not brought to one place together. So it's a real opportunity to cover a whole range of things. So there is no national, and in fact, I can't find one internationally, no training program that looks at artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, genomics, advanced technology, digital health platforms, smartphone adaptions, plugins, those sorts of things, and bring that all together in one place. So the program does a little bit of that, but we're working with Health Education England actually to look at how we might mainstream that a bit more. So lots of great opportunities on the program. What do we need to do? Key benefits. Well, one of the things NHS England has to do is promote economic growth in the life sciences space. It's in our mandate. But we also want to leverage external investment to come into healthcare and try and make our latest great ideas. We're going to get ideas out of the lab and into a business. That's what we really need to do. It helps us deliver on the vision the NHS has set, which is our 5-year forward view. And just create a whole, it doesn't have to be, I should say, it doesn't have to be a commercial startup. It could be a social enterprise, a charitable enterprise. You could just want to be an entrepreneur in the system. So someone who gains commercial skills, knowledge and experience to try and help transform healthcare through bringing that to being a clinical leader of some sort. I've been through much of the offer, so you will get a formal if you're appointed to the scheme. So instead of thinking in year 1 we did 104, in year 2 it's over 230. I think we might be up to 240 people now on the program. So we provide you with a commercial coach and mentor, someone that really suits you and your ideas to how you want to develop. Now for some people that's a public sector figure, for some people it's a startup person, for some people it's a corporate person, all sorts of things, and you get an hour once a quarter with them and more if is needed as well, and they're really helpful in driving forward things. I should say the whole program is not a spoon feeding exercise. We don't treat you like baby entrepreneurs, put you in high chairs and then we walk along a road with a spoon feeding you all. That is not what happens on this program. It's very self-led, self-delivered. You get out as much as you put in yourselves. So I was saying we don't pay you, there's no salary for this, but it is also just those 8 key days a year, but there are a whole load of other events we connect you to. And if I get to go abroad, meetings with various people, we've been to Northern Ireland recently, we've been to Helsinki, we've been to San Diego, we've been to Moscow. In the last couple of years, we always get an invite out to the entrepreneurs, and normally half a dozen, sometimes a dozen of you, and will come along to those things with us. Again, those are largely self-funded things, although sometimes we can find some sponsorship for them. So the other thing we can do is arrange what I call advanced internships, so placements in organisations. Some of them have been in consulting companies. People have taken a year or 2 out to go and do that. With some, it's one person's worked with a venture capitalist, another with a deep learning company. We've got someone at the moment who's actually working at DeepMind with Google, who's been a year on the program and now has stepped out to go and actually learn some things about that. There's a whole lot of also online content we're generating, webinars that will come along that you can just log into or view remotely afterwards, and a whole range of things. And we've managed to secure continuing professional development credits for you moving forward as well with this, so that helps with your appraisal and revalidation if you go through that. Cover a whole range of things. You can see them on the slide here. I don't have to repeat all that. for you around the content of the course, but it's stuff you just can't find. You can find it on YouTube and, you know, startup schools and Y Combinator and looking at things like that, but we bring it all together and make it relevant to healthcare. Funding, so we haven't got any funding. Have I said that enough times? I hope so. So we haven't got any funding on the programme, but what we do is we know where lots of the pots of money are, so we can signpost you and connect you into funding opportunities that have very, you know, last minute calls often, and you wouldn't know they were there or what was going to happen. So this year, I think we've had a couple of last minute calls that have gone out, one from the Department of Health, one from Health Education England, one from Innovate UK actually as well. And our entrepreneurs have secured typically anywhere between £25,000 and £50,000 just for some startup ideas and for them to take things forward. And that's very useful, those sorts of things. So we can really help connect you to those things, but also into bigger stages of funding. We've got companies that are raising, you know, tens of thousands, a few £100,000. We've had people raise a few £1 million. One company in year one raised £30 million, which is amazing. And they're likely to be our first unicorn actually this summer. They're out to raise between 100 and 500 million pounds, which is incredible, really. So networking events, loads of those, and our pit stops as well. And I organise something called the MedTech Campus Meetup Group, the Science Parks I'm from in Essex, and everyone gets signposted those. And it's a good way to come along and meet in between the pit stops too, and meet people from outside, because you need to meet the chief financial officers, your CEOs, your CTOs, all the people that might help take your company forward. So these are our year one metrics, which are great. We did 7 pit stops in year one, and then a really great end of year event. And I've been through most of those things that we've got there. But look at what we've achieved in year one, just by giving permission to frontline staff to take things forward. It's been quite incredible, really, and very humbling. And a great privilege for me to, you know, when we started with junior doctors, they were manning the barricades in the on the strike lines and the picket lines, and then they stepped forward and said, no, we want to come and change healthcare. And they've been absolutely inspiring, and I'm really pleased we've been able to open the programme to all clinicians. That was always our aim, and our ambition is next year we're going to have to see how things go for a variety of reasons, to see how we can bring patients into what we're doing too. So mentoring, we've spoken a little bit about that, and just run through that. So the whole, you can recommend, if you've got a mentor, someone you know that we might bring onto the programme and support, or we've got, I think, about 200 now, people from across completely different sectors that can help. It's a very good relationship. You sign a mentor-mentee agreement that protects you, the mentor, and also NHS England, and no one claims your IP rights as part of this programme, I should say, if that's a question you might have. The position is in law, contract law at the moment in this country, is that if you're employed by the NHS, then the provider organisation will have local policies, and you have to work with them around that. Some organisations don't want to claim your IP at all. They say it's nothing to do with your work that you do for us. Others will have their own agreements. That's often the case if you're working in a university hospital, you know, with a link to, I don't know, Oxford, Cambridge, Newcastle, Manchester, someone like that. But it's about locally negotiating something moving forward. We do all these other things. You can see commercial and legal advice. They'll help you with your business plan, help you develop things, help you on your lean canvas when you're starting out and pitching. So you don't have to have a really formed idea for this. You don't have to have a startup, some great idea, have raised money. You can just say, I'm someone who wants to gain commercial skills, knowledge and experience to try and help transform healthcare. We've got appointed a whole lot of sponsors. We went out to the world and said who would like to help us in this. That list of 19 sponsors there have been contributing a whole range of different things. So our academic health science networks are our partners in this, but we've got a couple of really interesting partners from small little startups and consulting groups to the Royal College of Anaesthetists, Royal Society of Medicine, MedCity have given us some hot desking space in the heart of London. The RSM have come forward, they're building a new hot desking space in their place in Wimpole Street for us. But we've got some venture capitalists, we've got some drug companies, some tech companies. So lots of people partner us and providing support and help with the programme. So we started off, gosh, September 2016, seems like a long time ago now. And then year 2 started in September last year. They're about halfway through now. And the applications are live till the 31st of March this year. Interviews we're hoping to take place between May and June. That might drift a little bit, depends on the number of applicants we get, into July. But the programme date will start September time. Normally at Expo, we have an event at the NHS Expo, which is the first week in September. So look that up and you know, reserve those dates in your diary. And I can't guarantee it, but we normally manage to get the clinical entrepreneurs in for free to that event. I hope we'll be able to achieve that again. We've done so in the past. Yep, year 3 begins in September 2018. So let me escape that then. And we're on to questions. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. One sec. There you are, Polly. Now, how do I stop sharing that? Give me 1 second. So it's the don't save and cancel, stop share. There we go. Done. Right. So, so it's over to you. If you've got any questions or any things you would like to ask, sometimes we can bring you in and hear you. If Polly can work her whistle, I should say, you can see Polly online there as well. Hi, Polly.
Hello.
Polly is one of the backbones behind the programme, works at Anglo Ruskin University, and you'll get to know Polly really well. We've got Alex Ganzola here. I'm just going to embarrass him. This is in the room here at NHS. Hello, Alex. Wave. So there's Alex. So I'm not just here on my own. He wasn't expecting that. But he's looking quite dapper today, I have to say, for Alex. He's a good guy. And then we've got Emma as well, Emma Hutchison in Leeds. And I can't get you a picture of her at the moment. So we've got a really small, tight core team. They're all really good and very supportive of the program. We've got Shelley Easter, who many of you will get to know, who helps look after my diary and makes sense from the spaghetti that is. Right, Polly, have we got some questions?
Yeah, we've got some questions. So the first one is, would there be an issue with joining the program and also aiming to work with the company to bring my innovation to market through licensing and possibly a corporate partnership? As well as this, could you locum in the NHS as your only other clinical work alongside the program?
Yes, nice simple one to answer. Absolutely, that's fine. You don't have to be formally employed by the NHS. Lots of people have come back on a locum basis to make it flexible for them to take things forward. We encourage you to work with corporate partners to take your ideas forward, whoever they are, whether they're funders or people where you've got a strategic relationship, or they're actually they've got a stake in what you're doing and taking forward. We've got a number of people who've just gone to work for corporates during their program. As I say, it doesn't have to be a startup. You might, you could go and work for Google or Microsoft or J&J or for a period of time. That's not a problem. So yes to all this. What's next?
Next one. My idea is in early stages of development with years of development. Which stage should I focus my presentation on?
So you're going to find this really uncomfortable, I'm afraid, and it's deliberately designed to be uncomfortable. So my view on medical training is we've not got it right. And for a whole, and generally in clinical training, we moved away from a system that I thought worked quite well. It wasn't perfect, to a system where we try and make you these uniform things. So if you're a junior doctor, you'll be coming out as an FY1 when you leave medical school, and all those beautiful, unique things about you, those creative things that made you different and special and got you into medical school or got you into nursing school or all those things in the first place. We try and hack those off you so you come out of this clone that can deliver particular services. And we do that in a number of ways, and there are quite rigid applications and all these things. And I don't like that very much, and I think we should treat you like adults, and we should respect different learning styles and methods with people. So we've set up an application process that's quite free range. There are some boxes you have to fill in to tell us a little bit about you and your idea. And then there's this thing that really tells you people like a tool, which is your 1-minute video pitch. Now, we leave it completely free to you to decide what to do, which is quite uncomfortable for some people because they like rigid guidelines. That's what we're doing. And mostly people film a selfie on their phone, and I'd really recommend that. It's quick, it's simple, it tells us an enormous amount about you and the sorts of things you want to tell us. In previous years, we've had people prepare very technical presentations, which look like PowerPoints. They're very professional, and you never see a human face. My view is they don't score very highly generally because we don't get to know something about you. We do have a scoring structure, and but some of them have been okay. We've got someone once someone rapped their application, someone sang their application. We've had people do all sorts of weird demonstrations of all their widgets and gizmos and gadgets that they have. And people will be generally very excited. Some have been very humbling and have just told their story and why they're passionate about coming on this entrepreneurial journey. So I would say it's free. It's a minute of time. Someone submitted half an hour video of them talking, and I'm afraid we have to be fair to everyone. We watched the first minute and they didn't get on the program because it was, it just suggested, I can't be bothered to make a video for a minute. This is a talk I gave a while ago, and they downloaded that. Well, that's fine. They didn't get on the program. They didn't want to, by the sound of it. So create some, don't spend too much time on it. Be yourself, be open, be honest, and give us an idea of who you are. The key elements for this program are, I'm a clinician who wants to learn commercial skills, knowledge, and experience to try and transform healthcare. And if that comes across, and patients should be at the heart of everything we do. And if that comes across, then I think you'll be in with a really good chance. Polly, what's next?
Is the program open to medical students?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. We've got some on the program already. And then you'll find on the forms it says, can you submit your professional number, whether that's GMC, GDC, nursing, whatever it is. If you haven't got one, just put not applicable. That's fine. You'll be able to progress through. Not a problem. Next one, Polly.
Could we get a copy of the presentation? But I can send it out to all those that have registered separately.
Good. There we are.
How long is the program?
As long as a piece of string is the answer to that one. So I didn't want to design it so that it was a rigid thing. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, you'll be an entrepreneur your whole career. So we're working through that at the moment. There were so many people who got to the end of year one, and not all of them had got to come through all the pit stops we'd had. And most people got to about half of them. And so they wanted to stay on. But we got, at the end of year one, probably 25, 30 people just said, I've realised I'm not an entrepreneur. This is not me. It is not what I wanted to do. And I think it's very difficult to pick entrepreneurs at an interview. And we try not to do that. We're trying to look at the individual who wants to develop and learn these skills. So they were quite self-selecting. And the 70 or so that stayed on into year two actually were very driven, very motivated, had some really great ideas, and they've stayed on. We haven't completely decided what's going to happen in year three. It may be we set up an alumni network and people grow into that, so they don't necessarily need to come along to the pit stops, but they often want to, or the networking events related to it. They may feel they don't need a mentor. If you set a company up that's turning over millions, you'll be busy enough with running that and doing things and trying to have a clinical career. But people are at different stages. So if you're very early startup, you won't necessarily be in that position, or if you're in a much more progressed commercial position, then it will be different. So we're trying to be bespoke about it, and the answer is we want this to be a badge that gives you permission to be an entrepreneur in the National Health Service. It gives you a blessing, a permission, but also a badge of protection. So as long as that's useful, we will find a way of making that work. I hope that kind of answers it. So it's at least a year. And if you want to stay on it and you've been constructive and contributed to the program, then we should be able to find a way of continuing that forward. The other thing I should say is you'll sign up to an agreement, and you have to do everything Polly says when she sends it out to you is the other thing. So we expect certain behaviours of you, the same behaviours that would be expected of you by good medical practice from the General Medical Council, or the equivalent professional body, those sorts of things. There's social media behaviour we expect you to behave and abide by as well when you're on the programme. And if you say, no, I want to be a free spirit that can say really what I think on social media and not be constrained, then this programme isn't going to be for you. We're supporting people. We expect you to behave in an appropriate and professional manner. And we have had issues with a couple of people. One of them, they pulled it back, decided they would have a Twitter row with the Secretary of State, and that's not helpful to anyone in so many ways, I can tell you. I look back on it and sort of think that was quite funny. I think that, oh, this is recorded, isn't it? So it's too late now. It's out there. It wasn't funny at all. But it wasn't funny for the entrepreneur. They learnt a lot of lessons. But that's good. You've got to learn these things, and what you do have consequences to. Polly, what's next?
How flexible is the programme if we plan to work part-time for the NHS and also for an industry company?
Okay, so very flexible, that's the point. So we can't guarantee you less than full-time training or less than if you're in training, or less than full-time work if you're in the NHS. This is about winning hearts and minds. It's about convincing people where you work that what you're doing is really important for the NHS and patient services, taking them forward, and how you might contribute to those. So if you were an established GP or consultant or physiotherapist or nurse, fully trained within an organisation, then that's a very different scenario you're going to your managers with, rather than if you're a junior doctor in training, where we would be having discussions with Health Education England. So we can't guarantee it, but as long as you've got a good idea and we can make the case for that benefiting the NHS, we will be your champions in helping you try to achieve that. Not everyone has got what they wanted when they wanted it first time. There's been some real frustration from some people, while as they've gone through the system and learned, they've understood the position we're in. So we can't destabilise clinical rotas, for example. That wouldn't work at all. And actually, I should say to you, there's a good talk a little bit about the programme. So I gave evidence to the Science and Technology Committee at the House of Lords yesterday. So if you Google Science and Tech Committee, House of Lords, it'll bring up the sort of 50-minute or so interview I did there. And we cover quite a lot about the programme there and the future of healthcare and what we're going to do. So for those of you who are interested, that's quite a nice look. It will give you some more information as well. What's next, Polly?
How does the process of choosing a mentor work? Is there some form of matching process, or are you free to choose who you would like?
You may choose who you would like if you want to, and it can be someone who's not on our list of mentors at the moment. But I do personally meet all mentors before we appoint them to the programme. So that's taken up a lot of my time, but we've got some really amazing mentors on the other hand. So we try and do that. We try and look at your needs and look at our data. And we are hoping by the time mentor matching happens, now it'll happen over the summer or into the autumn. So if you get appointed, you'll start the programme and you won't necessarily have a mentor in place. But that is up to you to drive that process, as much as there's an onus on us as well. And what we're hoping we'll have in place is like a matching platform. So where there'll be profiles of the mentors, their skill sets, what they do, and we request the same from you, because we want to have a complete database of brief bios of you, your photos, indications about what you're doing. So we're hoping to have that up and running. It hasn't been so far, and it's been a very manual process of matching people to mentors. But we're very keen also for you to do it yourself. If you know someone who you think would be amazing for you, we can help make that happen very often. Polly, what's next?
What if my idea changes over the year?
Perfect. We've had lots of people do that. Start with one thing, do another thing. Someone came in year one pitching a prehabilitation platform for getting people fit before surgery. Ended the year doing something called Care Rooms, which hit every single front page of the national papers at the end of October as NHS Airbnb. The press didn't handle that, in my view, in a very fair or open way. They went with a sensationalist headline. And this was a fostering register for the elderly. So he started with one thing, flipped it to another, and now he's changed actually and he's doing something else completely different. So that's absolutely fine. Change, develop and grow. This is not about a startup. NHS England are not supporting companies. We are supporting clinicians who work within or related to the NHS and our activities to help develop commercial skills, knowledge and experience to help us transform. We want you to, I learned this new expression recently from one of the peers yesterday in the House of Lords, who said we want to create multilinguists. And I think that's right. We want people who understand medicine, who understand science, who understand healthcare, but also understand the commercial side of things, the financial side of things, because you're not taught those skill sets when you're training in healthcare and life sciences. And actually giving you those and equipping you with those can be really valuable to help us transform healthcare. What's next, Polly?
How many applicants will you recruit?
So if you saw the look on Alex's face, let me turn that around as Polly said that. I'm too far away to see the pained look of expression. So yesterday in the House of Lords, I said we're growing the programme exponentially year on year. I have been set a restriction around this. And the restriction I've been set by Ian Dodge, my executive director, is he said, Tony, I want you to ensure high quality. So that's the limiting step. If we've got lots of high quality applications, I'm going to have to go back to him and say, you're never going to believe how many have applied and we want to appoint. So you won't get any decisions on interview day. There'll be a process that we go through. So we haven't actually limited it in year 1 or 2 by numbers. We've limited it by people who have got their ideas sorted, they really know what they're doing, and they're going to be a high quality contributor to the program. So year 104, year 2, 230 plus. We got to 400 in year 3. I became, wow, that's amazing. Now, you're never all in the room at one time, but let's wait and see what happens. So we want to support you, and I'm hoping this will grow year on year on year, people going through the system. So no limit on numbers necessarily. Let's wait and see. Yeah, Polly.
Could you please expand on the entrepreneurial benefits of the scheme?
Yeah, sure. So you don't have to have a startup. You don't need to set a company up whatsoever. If you're going to be a leader in healthcare, and I've been through that clinically myself, when do you get taught about a spreadsheet when you're looking at a department and how cash flow works within an organization, your balance sheet, your profit and loss? Because that's true for a business and it's true for an internal accounting code within a hospital or a general practice situation. So learning this, we've had one chap, no, he's not an entrepreneur, he's an entrepreneur. He was a GP and he became the federation lead for this cluster of general practices down in the Southwest. And he was given all the stuff he had to do around running the business of those general practices, but hadn't got a clue on how to do it. So he bought the commercial skills, knowledge and experience, the mentor he was allocated to the program, and has really learned an enormous amount. Now, he's still on the program. We haven't seen him a lot in year 2 because he's just been so busy, but that doesn't matter. He's still linked to us. He's still able to connect into the things we're doing. So being someone who's passionate about changing healthcare, learning the best things from the commercial sector, from the entrepreneurial sector, and wanting to bring them to change the NHS, yes, this is what that program is about. So it's different from quality improvement, because there can be all sorts of things in quality improvement that you can do that don't require this sort of thing. This is quite specifically about gaining that commercial skill, knowledge, experience to transform health. Polly.
You mentioned earlier that you can be part of this program with no idea. Could you please elaborate?
So, as my children will tell you, there's a Christmas cracker joke about no idea, but I like to go on very often, but I won't do that. I'm sure you've heard it. It's a what you call a deer with no eyes. Anyway, it's terrible. I can't hear you all groaning, fortunately, on the end of the line. That's something. No, you don't have to have a solid, firm idea when you come on this. As long as you want to have gain commercial skills, knowledge, and experience to transform healthcare and patient experience and improve that, improve the quality of the offering, improve the safety of our offering, improve the efficiency of what we do in healthcare, then that's fine. If you've got an idea, all the better. So we've got some people who are very early on in their journeys, and they really love. We have one hackathon already. We've got another one coming up. In fact, Polly, I don't see why we can't advertise that across applicants as well. We're working in partnership with the British Cardiovascular Society and Diabetes UK at the annual event for the British Cardiovascular Society. I want to say Tuesday the 5th and 6th of June. I might have got it's the Tuesday and the Wednesday. Anyway, in the first week of June, at their event in Manchester, we're going to have a hackathon. It's for 2 days. You'll be in a room at the Manchester Centre with a whole range of people trying to look at these spaces. So they're perfect for people who haven't got ideas coming along. And in fairness, it doesn't have to be in the cardiac or diabetic spaces. It could be something completely different. And you get to meet amazing, great people in those places who are thinking differently and looking at, and they might be techies and programmers and finance people and business people as well as clinicians. So it doesn't matter if you don't have an idea. We'll try and help you with that too. But again, it's how much you put in. So if you come along to the networking events, meet people, try and find out new ideas, what you want to do, then yeah. But you don't have to have an idea. It's fine. Yep.
The application asks for support from your training director. I'm finishing F2 this year. Do you need support from my program director, my educational supervisor, or can I choose my own referees who I think would be more suited?
So you can, there's a referee section in there and you can choose who you want. It could be clinical, could be entrepreneurial. They have to reflect something of why you want to be an entrepreneur and would do well on the program, though. And great, some people have got referees writing 3 or 4 pages long. So something short and concise is really helpful, and we're very grateful for, to be honest. With regards to, what was the other bit, Polly?
Who would give the reference? Would it be educational supervisor?
Yeah, educational supervisor, sorry.
Training director, or someone they choose themselves?
The reason that bit's in there is because you have to be in good standing on your training rotation. So if you've left FY1 and FY2 and you're taking a gap, then you're not going to have an educational supervisor. That's fine. You just write and explain that. If you're because if you're in training and you're struggling, and we've had a number of people in year 1 who applied to the program and were not fulfilling their duties and responsibilities under their training, then there's no way you can take a program like this on. So you have to be in good standing. It doesn't exclude you if you've had issues in the past and taken breaks and a whole variety of things, as long as you are currently in good standing with your whoever's responsible for your training, or your employer as well. If you're not in good standing with your employer for whatever reason, or I should say with your professional body, so if you've got General Medical Council restrictions against you, then there are some screening criteria we have, and those are set as you have to be in good standing with your professional bodies too. So all those things will count.
Have you established evidence to support the benefits of being released by your NHS organisation?
Oh, that's a good question. We haven't been asked that one before. Lots of people do this in their own time. Some people can get study leave. Some people get take annual leave to get there. It's only 8 days a year, and half of them are at weekends anyway. So it's not that onerous, that sort of thing. We do have a prospective study going on looking at the benefits of the program, and that's in partnership with ESAC, the business school in Paris, Imperial College Business School, and my one at Anglia Ruskin University, and you will be enrolled into that study. So what we do demonstrate is we have some very specific metrics to the program that reflect on the whole NHS. So those are not just looking at jobs created, money raised, startups created, patients impacted. But then what we've done is we're looking specifically at entrepreneurs and their ideas and their startups, and how we can connect them into the system somewhere where that's going to have real impact. So to give you an example, we've got a junior doctor who came from India to this country, went through all the regulatory processes, thought there were some terrible hurdles, and he's quite right, there are. And he set up a platform, a recruitment platform that sat in India, so people could learn about all those things, and it was a permanent sort of site and presence for them to do that. And he's got hundreds of people registering that from across the Indian subcontinent. And so when the urgent and emergency care team wanted to go out to India looking for how can we recruit more doctors to get them to come and work in accident and emergency in this country, we connected the two of them together. So there can be some very real, tangible benefits to working with the program. In my STP in Mid and South Essex, and we've actually launched an innovation fellowship, and many of our entrepreneurs applied, and we're picking the ones locally and regionally in Essex where they align with our key system priorities. So can I show that any one individual could make a difference to one particular trust? Well, it may be that their idea doesn't actually match to a problem in that trust that needs to be solved. But nationally, we can normally find that. So we are collating and gathering that evidence. We have metrics, we have reports each year on the program, but there isn't a scientific study looking at that. But we do have a couple of business schools working with us to help us generate the evidence that will help deal with that question. But that is a good question, and not one I've been asked before. Good. Polly, what's next?
Next one is, how many applicants did you have last year? Are your numbers fixed, or do you accept all good applicants? You've answered that bit.
I have, and last year, we roughly get, between expressions of interest, applications started, those sorts of things, we normally have about 50% of people coming through to join the program. It's just been our figures in year 1 and 2. So in year 1, it was, I think, over 200 initial expressions of interest. Year 2, we were well over 300, maybe getting to a bit more. So I'm expecting in year 3 we'll probably get similar numbers, 3, maybe 400 expressions of interest, initial applications, and then see how we go from there.
So, does the program require taking time off from full-time training?
No, it doesn't require that at all. And in fact, when I did 4 startups, I did my full-time surgical training and delivered that the whole way. So not at all. It's a flexible program. And the whole point is to allow you to develop some skills, knowledge and experience while you're training, while you're delivering services in the NHS. We don't want you leaving. We need you to stay. The country's invested a lot of money in our clinicians, and we're passionate about supporting you, growing and developing and learning. And isn't it great that we've got a scheme like that? It's fantastic, I think. So no, you don't have to take time out if you don't want to. If you want to, we'll try and help you negotiate
that. Can I submit a concept that is at the idea stage?
Absolutely, you can. But what we would say on submissions is don't send us anything that's commercial in confidence. So if you want to patent something, go and patent it. Don't tell us. We don't need to know the exact nuance that makes your widget, Gazmo, gadget, whatever it is, unique, or your business idea. It's the theme, it's the core bit around it. So people have asked that, like, we will treat your ideas in confidence when you share them with us, but what we don't want to do is we won't sign any NDAs, and we don't want you to share something that you require commercial protection over. It's not that kind of thing. And we're supporting the individual to develop. When it's not about you, I've got this killer idea and it does this and that. You can have one, that's great, but we don't need to know the raw protectable details of it. That's not necessary. Okay, Polly?
Do you need to have already developed a startup for this program, or can you get the idea stage and still apply?
Yes.
Yes. Are combined applications allowed from a doctor and a nurse and a health professional?
The answer to that is we don't have any combined applications. These are about individuals. Have we had people both working for the same startup who submitted the same idea? Yes, we have. And in fact, in year 1, we had one of them was appointed and one of them wasn't, just because of issues at the interview for one of them, which was really interesting. So it's not the idea, it's the individual. So you can't put a joint application in 3 of you, but you can put the same idea in that you're submitting that you want to work on. That's not a problem. This is about the individual, but we will welcome healthcare assistants, nurses, doctors working together in partnership. That sounds like a great idea.
Is there a time limit on the video? So the video's 1 minute.
60 seconds. You have to say it. Or if you want to do less than that, fab. You get up to 60 seconds. After 60 seconds, with to everyone, we won't listen.
Right.
Go on,
so do you need to have a defined innovation, or can it be leading and developing a service which involves the NHS and private industry?
Yes, you could be doing that, absolutely. Again, it's a workforce development thing. It's about training and upskilling our workforce. Absolutely, you can do that.
I'm applying for ST4 in emergency medicine currently. If I was lucky enough to get a place on the programme, how easily could I leverage it to get less than full-time training?
So it's about winning hearts and minds. I can't guarantee any of that, but if you've got some really great ideas and we can get support from Health Education England for you, so it won't necessarily start in September if you start the programme, then maybe 6 months later, we may not be able to achieve it in your first year. For FY1 doctors particularly, I've tried to encourage them to stay full-time training and just come and experience the programme. You can always stay for an extra year. There's not a problem, as you know, as long as it works for you. Yep, what's next?
I'm a GP trainee and my programme directors are supportive of continuing working part-time, as I do at the moment. Do I need full sign-off with paperwork already from the deanery, or can I apply and then get sign-off on continuing less than full-time training?
So what we've said is on the form, you have to discuss, I think with Alex, I'm just looking, you don't have to have a letter from your deanery, do you? Or do you? You know, you just have to say you've discussed, so I want to treat you as adults. I hate this thing of, oh, you have to have a documented proof of this and that. I understand it's necessary in certain ways, but actually we're saying we will test it. So when we say you need to have discussed it, if you're a medic with your training program director or your dean, whoever that is, you need to, and they need to be supportive, and you can tell us that. There'll be times when we'll do checks on that and take that forward. But we believe you and we trust you, and we're treating you like mature professionals. I think that's refreshing. I wish I'd been treated like, or no one's ever called me mature or professional. Oh, on video, I shouldn't have said that. But I'm joking. That was a joke. They're all groaning, going, Christmas cracker jokes, and now this lot, I don't know. Yeah, let me stop there. Next question, Polly.
So I think you've answered this. I will be in FY2 next year. Would I have to apply for less than full-time training?
Well, it's up to you. Can but you have to be appointed to the program. We can't even start that. So very often you'll start on the program, and we'll be working with you to help drive that forward. Yes.
What sort of questions will you ask at interview?
We'll send you all of that. We give you all the questions in advance because this is not a pass-fail thing. We have sections broadly on being an entrepreneur, commercial sections, a clinical section, and an NHS section. So this isn't a pass-fail thing. It's more like a conversation, the interview, actually. I don't think we've had a candidate come away and say, oh, that was a horrible experience, although maybe one or two, I'm not sure, not entirely. 99-point-something% go, wow, that was amazing. The people who will be interviewing you will have a range of skill sets. We've had the chief executive of Microsoft Ventures in the UK come along to that, some very senior people from drug industry, from technology, medtech technology companies, senior people from the NHS, senior people from the finance world and private equity. So, yeah, you'll be fine. Go on, Polly.
My enterprise is a healthcare media journalism idea hub website. Have you had anything like that before? Will there be a mentor available with experience in the media world?
Yes, to all of those. We've got a few people on the programme that are really in this media space, and we've got some fabulous people, some who used to work at the BBC, some in independent production companies. Yes, we can help.
What was the name of the 2-day event you described in Manchester earlier on in the presentation?
Okay, it's called a hackathon. It's the British Cardiovascular Society annual meeting, and Polly is working with the team did I tell you that, Polly? I've volunteered you to work with Ross and Ryan to help us to help us deliver that. So Polly will be in contact, really connecting into all our entrepreneurs. We can share that with, you don't have to be on the programme to come to that, and you wouldn't be because it's going to be in June at that time anyway, so you'd be welcome to come on. We will share the details with everyone who's expressed an interest in the programme on that.
Right. Are there any potential conflicts of interest in terms of applying, i.e. already working within an NHS England department or the CCG, for example?
No, you can work with anyone you like. The only conflicts of interest, you declare them if you think they're a conflict. I think working with NHS England or CCGs isn't a conflict. I think you should be working with them. It's what we want to encourage. So you just declare them if there's anything you want to declare. We go through all that with you in the paperwork if you're appointed to the programme.
What happens if someone external takes the idea and develops it?
Sorry, you're just discussing commercial life now. It's out there. It's a big, bad world, the commercial world. I've learned to my own experience. There are some quite ruthless people out there. This is like a safe space in which to start developing ideas. Have we had some very sharp commercial practice happening on the programme? Yes, we have. You will get to experience that in the commercial world. So you have to be wise and canny, and that happens in life to you. So you protect yourself, you protect your ideas. But my experience is patents, trademarks, and those things are less important than they used to be. And sharing your ideas, finding the right partners, and working really hard to develop your USP and how you're going to drive your business forward and your business plan and executing that are much more important than those things. Generally, it's not a problem. We've had some little incidences in the past, but we've dealt with those. But in the big wide world, it's a big wide world, and so better to learn here now than I mean, I've had some terrible commercial experiences. People, quite frankly, I've worked with in the past have behaved in a manner that is ruthless and unscrupulous at best, and I've learned an enormous amount. But that's true in academia. That's true in other bits of life, isn't it? Okay, Polly.
Right. Does the scheme have established technical partners, such as developers and medical device governance organisations,
yes,
which match us with?
Yes, we do. We've got all those connections and experience from app development and all those kinds of things. The MHRA are partners of ours moving forward, happy to give advice. NICE are partners of ours, happy to give advice. Yes, it's not always presented on a plate, and you have to do lots of the legwork and things. We haven't got a large team here. What we are is a network that can connect you, give you permission, and often an email from me or one of the team will open lots of doors on things into the system. So not on a plate, but yes, all those connections are available. Polly.
Right. Following on from the question with about working with another health professional on an idea, although we both need to apply, could we, however, send in a combined 1-minute video on our idea, or does this need to be separate also?
Oh, it's a good question. I've not been asked that. No, if you want to put the same, it's more about you. I'm not going to change the rules, and I'm going to say you submit something and see what you think. The rule we're sticking to is 1 minute. Let's have a look and see.
Right, there's a couple more that have been emailed to me. So, is there a maximum word count for each reference, and is there a structure to the references?
No, I can tell the degree of discomfort there is that I've not given you a word count or a limit to these things. I want you to be able to express yourselves. But when you're going through hundreds of applications, briefer the better, really, to be honest. And it takes a lot. Who was it who said this? Oh, it was some author. I'll remember it now. I really loved it. Who said, I want to say it was Mark Twain, but it wasn't. Who said, I didn't have the time to write you a short letter. It says so much, doesn't it? I'm sure it wasn't Mark Twain. I think it was attributed to him, but it was someone else. And that's true, isn't it? So something short, concise, that you put some thought into can be just as long as a novel, or just as good and effective as a novel. I'm going to leave it to you to decide what you want to do. There we go. Treat you as mature adults in a learning environment. I think that's refreshing and different from what we're used to so often. That's what we want you to be creative individuals. We want you to develop new thinking, new actions on helping us change healthcare. Wow, what a revolution. Come and join us. Join the revolution. Right, what's next, Polly?
So I'm an AHP. Some of the application form seems very geared to medics still.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to take that criticism, or I'm going to address it that way. Alex there. I take your point completely, and fill it in as best you can. We're going to be really flexible. We're learning. This is a startup program, and we will welcome you on board as an AHP. We welcome on board all clinicians working with the NHS in some way to apply. Will we have got it all right? No. Will we learn and change things and grow? Yes, we will absolutely. Come and help us change it and make it better and more appropriate. Do the best you can. You will not be penalised for it. So I'm being very flexible over how we assess people and take them forward too in what we do to do the very best you can. I do understand what you're saying, and we will learn our lessons from that.
What have been the outcomes for previous clinicians who've gone through the programme?
Well, I think we've already discussed that, really. All sorts of different things. Some people have developed social enterprises, commercial enterprises. Some people have just gone on to develop great skills and become leaders within the system. So there's been a whole range of commercial skills, knowledge and experience people have gained to apply in a way that's relevant to them in the National Health Service. So
can you partake if you were doing an FY1/2 with the military?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I was just on to the person this morning heading up the British military, Marcus, what was his name? He's leading innovation anyway for the British military. He's going to be sending that out right across the United Kingdom armed services. I'm really hoping to get some applications for them. So 100%, it would be really great to work with people from our armed forces.
So my manager is keen to know the time commitment. How many days would I need to attend training sessions, and how much of the programme is flexible?
So all flexible. You don't have to, if you attend nothing in the year, none of the events, we'll say, well, what was the point of being on the programme? Unless you've got a very good reason, like you've raised £50 million and were too busy running your business. That's fine. We'll allow you to stay on the programme. You've done quite well. Maybe you didn't need it. So, as I've said, some of the events are at the weekends, so you'll often not be working on those. And some of the events will be in the week. It's about a 50-50 mix, roughly. But you can take a day's annual leave. You can. Some places are granting study leave, some are not. If you're an entrepreneur and you really think this is good enough and it's going to give you something that's going to help change your life, your career, and the benefit will be a benefit to others, then you're going to, you know, there aren't going to be any barriers that stop you. We had a pit stop in Leeds recently. There was snow everywhere. Trains weren't working. No one was going anywhere. And 60 entrepreneurs turned up to a cold little hall in the middle of Leeds town centre, having trudged through the snow, stayed there for a day and a half, and then made their way back home. They're real entrepreneurs. You couldn't keep them away. So if it's really good, you'll come along to it. This is not some like training or education program where you get study leave, you're signed up, you get a job. No, this is a way of life. This is something you're passionate and driven about. And if you are, then join us. And if you're not, then this is not for you.
Do you need to have your TPD provide their support even if you are not intending on going less than full time prior to submitting your?
Yes, you do, because we need to know you're in good standing with your TPD. We've had a number of people who are on the verge of being suspended from training apply, seeing that as a way out, and it's not. So it's fine. We're not asking you to provide written evidence, I believe, at this stage, but we want your TPD to understand and know what you're doing, and for them to have given their verbal consent to you, certainly, in saying that. My experience is that's sufficient.
If two people apply working on the same project and are successful application, will the interviewed on the idea part be combined?
No, in separate individual interviews, all the way. It's about you. It's not about the idea. It's about learning why you're an amazing person and human being, and how we can help you develop. That's what it's about. How many people in your training have said you're an amazing person? We don't say it enough. We've got 230 amazing people on the program. Stunning, absolutely wonderful, creative, beautiful ideas about transforming healthcare. I love it.
Where will the events be held?
All over the place. So Leeds and London this year. So there'll be some in Manchester. As the program grows, we're hoping to grow more opportunities across the country. I'm hoping to get some things in Newcastle, maybe some things down in the southwest, Bristol way. Who knows? We're flexible around that, but it's been Leeds and London this year. London's nice and easy for so many people coming in, and there are all sorts of reasons, but we're aware we want to do things in other parts of the country too.
What are the rules on intellectual property ownership for that developed while part of the clinic, for what is developed while part of
so IP is a complex area, and I started to explain that earlier. We won't claim anything that you do on the programme for NHS England. We've taken a view on that already. That's different between employee and if you're a locum, that's different again. If you're employed, then there'll be local agreements and you have to reach local agreements with your employers. We've got some cases where people have gone to raise £1 million for something and have gone through quite a painful process actually with their local hospital employee who wasn't used to doing this sort of thing. And it took a long time and the whole thing was going to fall apart, but now they're through it. So we always recommend you get that. I've got them in place with my trust, and for anything I invent or take forward, I've got it with my STP, my university, and with NHS England too. So I've put those agreements in place prospectively. We recommend you do the same.
I'm about to finish ST3 in brackets ACCS, and will be moving deaneries. Will that be an issue with regards to approval if I don't know who my TPD will be?
No, that's not an issue. As long as you've got it from the place you are at the moment, I think that's fine.
And there was an IP one about, sorry, I'll just grab that. This is the last one. So if anyone's got any more, could you type them in? My idea is subject to IP. How much detail do you need to know about the potential?
Answered that and said nothing that's commercial in confidence or protectable. It's the principle. It's that you can talk about, we've got a new wonder thing that does this. You don't need to tell me what's inside the box. I just need to know, I see, that's a really important area. It'd be very useful to have that and take it forward.
I'm currently locuming, but will be entering a training program. Will this affect anything? For example, getting permission from TPD references,
No,
etc.
if you're not in a training program at the moment, that doesn't matter. You can't get permission, can you?
If you have left training and do not currently have a TPD, what should be done in the application?
They're not applicable on that bit. If you're not in training, we've got lots of people who've applied. We have one chap in year 1 who re-emigrated from Australia. I don't know what the term for re-emigration is. Anyway, he left and came back to work in the entrepreneur program. Fantastic. He's GP training in Newcastle now. Really good story. And a great guy, geekymedics.com, Lewis Potter. Have a look. Fabulous.
I'm a dentist and not in training. Who should my references be?
Anyone you like. They've got to demonstrate something about you that shows why you're entrepreneurial and why you should be joining us on the program. Have we got to go? What's the time? 1 o'clock? Have we got a meeting?
We're not meeting by 15 minutes.
Oh, right. Okay, that's fine. Yep.
There's one more, I think. If you already have commercial experience or working already as a GP partner, what more could the program offer?
So there are some people who already know most of the things we'll have on the program. The main thing is about networking, meeting other amazing, bright people. It's the strongest thing. Never before has a nation taken such a cohort of bright, disruptive, innovative thinkers and incubated them together in one space. And the ideas that come out of that are just phenomenal. So I know all the things that are taught on the program. I thought I knew them actually. In secret, I am learning a few things myself, some really interesting, amazing things from some of our great speakers. But it may be if you're up running a big business, we're just done now. Thank you very much. They get very snippy here at NHS England if you go a minute over your time in a room. So there we are. Good. Anything else, Polly?
Yeah, last one. What if you don't have any references that may be able to comment on you being an entrepreneur?
Then use clinical ones from people on why they think you're a great person. That will be fine too. Okay.
If there are any questions, email the innovation inbox and we'll get them answered for you.
Brilliant. We'll have an FAQ question on the site. Good luck with your applications. I'd encourage you all to apply if this really ticks the box for you. We hope it does. And I look forward. I'll try and meet you all at the interviews on interview days, and we'll meet you on the program as well. Have a look. I've done some great videos on YouTube when I've done talks in the past, and that House of Lords thing from yesterday will give you a real insight into innovation in the NHS too. Good luck, everyone, and I hope to meet you all at some point. And thank you, Polly, for comparing all that beautifully. Okay, thanks a lot.